Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have Becca's Bookopoly round 41, aka the Bookoplathon TBR. So if you guys are unaware of, first off, Bookopoly, it is the TBR game that I play bi-monthly-ish, where I have a board inspired by Monopoly, roll 2 6-sided die, and every prompt that I land on, I have to pick a book for. Now, I am going to link the full Bookopoly playlist down in my description box if you guys want to check out all of the rounds. But this round is a little bit special because in September every year I make a special readathon board and invite you guys to play along with me. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you're unfamiliar with the Bookoplathon, then I will link the announcement video up here, which has all of the information that you guys need to get involved. Now, I am very excited to get started and see what I'm going to be reading in September, but before I do, we have to check in and see how I did with my June and July Bookopoly TBR. So this feels like a lifetime ago now, but on my June and July Bookopoly TBR, I had 6 books. We had The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, which was for the Scroll Through Goodreads prompt. We had The Blood Trials by Annie Davenport, which I believe was most recent purchase. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch was a viewer recommendation. Aurora's End by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman was a sci-fi. Reckless Girls I think was for other, and Jade City by Fonda Lee was to read a fantasy. So with these 6 books, I actually still haven't read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Now, we don't do punishments anymore, so that isn't an issue, and it is something that I still very much want to read. I seem to have run out of time to be able to read it, which, I mean, I've had 3 months, so I don't know how that's possible, but don't worry, like, it's not because I didn't want to read it. I somehow didn't get around to it. It's one of the ones that I was most excited to read as well. So for the month of September, my focus is, of course, going to be on the Bookoplathon. I'm hoping, providing that we don't have too many rolls in this video, that I can either post another TBR sometime in the month of September, or I have some time to do a little bit of mood reading and roll in as I go throughout vlogs, probably towards the end of the month. But it very much obviously depends on what books are picked and how slumpy I'm feeling, because as we all know, this year, while I'm feeling much better and I'm reading a lot more now, this year in particular has been very slumpy for me, so I feel like it's like a state that I could very easily slip back into. I don't think there's any other readathons or anything that I'm doing aside from Bookoplathon this month. I do have Elderlingalong, which we will, of course, it's coming to an end. It's the last book, but is that it? I think that's everything we have to cover. But just before we get into the rolls, I would like to start by picking my Inner Circle Patreon pick for the month, just in case I can fit this book into any of the Bookopoly prompts. So each member of my Inner Circle tier on Patreon can recommend a book that goes into this pot, and every month I draw one and I have a couple of months to read it. Now, this has just had a few new additions, so I'm just going to mix it up a bit. And shout out to my Inner Circle patrons, actually. You guys truly do the most and you are very much appreciated. But I'm just going to be brave and let's see what we get, shall we? Oh Lord. Let's go with this one. Oh damn! Oh whoa. Oh, Princess, why? So this is a book that I actually really want to read. It's The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This one was also a gift from Nina, so thank you so much, Nina, for gifting this to me. But this is a adult epic fantasy trilogy that is compared to Brandon Sanderson quite a lot in the way that it's very intricate, I believe. Essentially, it's been recommended for like fans of Brandon Sanderson. I don't actually remember what this one's about, and it does not have a synopsis on my actual book, so I guess I'll look on Goodreads. Okay, so this is about a war that was 20 years ago, and there were godlike creatures called the Augurs that were wiped out during this war, and there are actually men and women who have something called the gift that were kind of under the Augurs, and the only reason that they've been allowed to live is because they have submit themselves to the people that overthrew the Augurs. So the main character is essentially kept in almost slavery, kind of like as a prisoner, all due to a war that was fought and lost before they were even born. That is all I know about it, with it being such an epic, like, look at this. The text in here is top to bottom. There are no margins, and she is chunky. How big is this one? Oh God, Princess Y. It is 693 pages, but I'm really excited to read it. I think I'm gonna really love it. I've heard that it is very complex and there is a lot going on in here, and that's what I like in a fantasy, you know? I like it to be intricate, so that's kind of what I'm hoping for from this. And a big thank you to Princess actually for recommending this, because I do really want to read it, and I know that it would have taken a long time for me to get around to it on my own. And also, if you like the series, if you like fantasy, Princess does actually have a YouTube channel, which is Castle Library, that I will link down below. So first book on the TBR is a chunky one. I love that. And now let's move on to my first roll for September. So it's been a while since I've done this, so I'm a little bit nervous, and I've actually lost the original Selena with the coffee cup. I don't know where I've put her. So we're going to be using this one, which is the Kingdom of Ash one, and we are of course going to be starting on go with everybody else. First roll. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So roll number one straight out of the gate was a double, which isn't boding well. I am doing my standard 5 rolls, by the way, because I didn't mention that at the beginning. So we're now up to 6, but roll number one was patterns and text, and I'm actually behind on my Goldsboro books. So for this one, I'm going to be reading The Embroidered Book by Kate Hartfield, which is once again real thick. There are like cameos on it, but it is predominantly, I would say, a patterned book. This one, it could be a DNF, because I'm really quite wary of this because it's set in 1768 and I'm not a historical girly, but this one is following Marie Antoinette and her sister, who as children find a book of spells. It is a fantasy. I'm gonna say it's a historical fantasy and alternate history, and it is another 600-page book. It's 655 pages. With it being historical, I'm anticipating it being slow, but I am gonna give it a try, obviously, because it is the Goldsboro subscription, and I'm essentially, as you guys will be able to tell, I'm making the next installment of is the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship worth my time? So I will at least be giving this one a try. And who knows, I might like it. I've been surprised before. Roll number 2 is 3. A book that is published or set in 1999 or before. For roll number 2, I landed on a book that is either published or set before 1999. And for that one, I'm going with Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May, which is published in 2022, but it is set in the 1920s. It doesn't give a specific year, it just says the 1920s. This one is set on an island called Crow Island, which I believe is very like magical and mystical, and it features witchcraft or a girl who is rumored to be a witch, I guess. And I think it's set on the backdrop of like glitzy 1920s glamorous parties. Once again, historical, but I am definitely more intrigued by this one, especially because it has the glitz and the glamour. Like, if we're going back in time, if it's going to be historical, then I want that very like fake glitzy glamour veneer to it, and I think that this one is definitely going to provide that more than the Embroidered Book is, which, I mean, the gowns in this time period are absolutely beautiful. I just don't know if that's going to be the focus of this story, where I feel like in the synopsis for this, it has words like mesmerizing, enigmatic, alluring, mysterious, and that's the kind of like vibe that I like from historical. So yeah, we stand a better chance with this one, I feel. Roll number 3 is a 4, not getting very far, and that one is Summer. For roll number 3, we landed on Summer. So this is a book that has the vibe of the season, and I couldn't decide whether this was a cheat, because summer to me, 100%, if you tell me what do you read in summer or what is summer reading to you, I will 100% say romance. So I've picked a romance for this prompt, a book that I'm very, very excited to read, and I'm so happy I could get it on this TBR. But the cover of this is very autumn to me. It's very like Taylor Swift's Red album in its color palette, which is a comparison that Cara from Cara's Bookshelf actually recently made when she made a reading vlog on this book. So I will of course also link Cara down in my description box. Completely off topic as well, but Cara does also have a TBR game called TBR Tinder, which is great, and I think that her channel definitely does not have as much like attention and love as it deserves, so definitely go check Cara out. But regardless, the book that I picked for this, I am so hyped to read this, and I feel like it's gonna let me down because of how hyped I am. But that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I saw this this in somebody's reading vlog. I think it was Locke's Library, but since I've seen it, I've just been obsessed and I have to read it. So the thing that really hooked me with this is that it's like a non-traditional romance, so essentially it doesn't have to end with a happily ever after, which as somebody whose favorite movies are like 500 Days of Summer, Moulin Rouge, and anything that's like super sad, angsty and depressing, this seems like a book for me. I've also heard it compared to like Gossip Girl but British, which the British thing throws me a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, that's actually all I know about it. Oh my god, can I just read you this from this inside page, which is kind of almost a synopsis because it's beautiful. It says, how many loves do you get in a lifetime? How many people do you get to call yours? There are all sorts of loves in this world, not all of them, but most of them are beautiful. Some are old, some noble, some brave. Others are dishonourable and weak and make you so by association. Some are a low whisper on a sombre night. Some are maddening. Some you can't ignore. They slow burn inside of you, never quite going out completely, but you're too scared to dare try to fan that flame. Some loves you pretend you don't feel, even when you can, even when you know you do, even if he's the first thing you think of in the morning, even if he's like a match in the darkened room of your heart. Because loving something how you love him is a painful love that puts rocks in your pocket and melancholy in your eyeballs, and if time has taught you anything, it's that it doesn't matter. You'll love him forever anyway. Oh my god, I'm gonna love this book. I know I'm gonna love this book, and I am so excited to be reading this in September. I want to have already read this. I want to read it so soon. Oh my god, I flicked to the front page and he's wearing black Vans. I'm gonna love this man. I'm gonna love this man. Oh my god. And this was also a gift from Ash, who is wonderful and knows me so well and loves me. So thank you so much to Ash. I am so hyped. Roll number 4. 11. That is a book that features a romance. Roll number 4 was a book that features a romance, so I pretty much went for fantasy or paranormal romance with this one. And this is also the one that I asked my patrons to vote on, so I gave them 4 options. The first one was Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRue, which is a demon romance. I also gave them the 3rd Zodiac Academy book, which is a bully romance. I gave them the 2nd Fever book, which is Blood Fever by Karen Marie Moning, which is a paranormal kind of fae story, but the fae is scary. And the last one was Crown of Crimson by Karina Halley, which is a fantasy romance that's kind of like Hades and Persephone, but I think it's the like Norwegian version, like Norwegian mythology. So I was really worried because we all know the girlies are screaming about Zodiac Academy these days, and we also know that I didn't have a great experience with the first 2 books, but I did say that as I know it gets better at book 3, I will at least read book 3. So I was scared about this, but my patrons are honestly just the best group of people because they picked Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRue, which I read the first book, Her Soul to Take, in August. Loved it. Obsessed. Like, this series follows 3 different couples, and the first one follows Leon and is she called Ray? But it's about this woman who moves back to the town where she's from, and she has a YouTube channel where she does paranormal investigations, and she's trying to kind of gain a bigger following. So she ends up with this grimoire and she decides to make a video where she's like summoning a demon and doesn't expect it to work, and she summons this demon called Leon. He has a few anatomical differences to your average male, but he does also have claws, sharp teeth and a forked tongue. And Ray ends up losing the grimoire, but Leon needs the grimoire to be able to earn his freedom. There's also stuff going on where like there's this family in town that are trying to sacrifice people to this god to be able to raise the god, and Ray is the next person that they're trying to sacrifice, so these two are kind of working together. And it's a very, very kinky book. Would recommend, if you want to read this series, looking up the full list of kinks and also content warnings on Goodreads, but it has things like blood play, consensual non-consent, edge play, impact, and all that kind of stuff. And book 1 was so good. So this one is following a different couple. It is following Zane, who is a demon that's friends with Leon, and Junie, who is a girl that this family tried to sacrifice to the gods previously, and she has given her soul to Zane in exchange for his help exacting her revenge on the people who tried to sacrifice her. I was interested in Zane from his appearance in the first book. A lot of people say that this is better than book 1, but I love Leon. So we're gonna see how this goes. Book 1 was 5 stars for me, so I'm expecting great things from this one. It is available on Kindle Unlimited as well, which is how I'm gonna be reading it. Roll number 5 is a 6. a book that is written in third person. Role number 5 was a book that is told in third person. So for that, I'm going to be reading the last Goldsboro book that I need for the vlog, which is The Collarbound by Rebecca Zahavi. This is the one out of the 3 Goldsboro books that I think I'm going to enjoy the most, but it's an adult high fantasy about this woman who has mysterious tattoos and she doesn't remember where she's from. She doesn't remember anything about her past or how she got these tattoos, but she goes to this fortress full of mages and she's kind of branded as an outcast because she does have these tattoos. And we're also following a guy who is now a slave and used to be a rebel, and when he sees this woman he recognizes her tattoos. They seem familiar to him. That's pretty much all I can really gather from the synopsis, but just from the premise of this, it seems like something that I would be more into, or like more my kind of thing, than the previous 2 Goldsboro books. So my prediction is that out of the 3, I'm going to like this one the most and the Marie Antoinette one the least, so we'll see if I'm right. And could this be our final roll? Roll number 6 is 10. Oh no, it's community shelf. Right, okay. Give these an extra shuffle. Okay, let's do this. An arc. Thankfully, roll number 6 is our final roll, and I got community shelf for this one, and my prompt was to read an arc, which is actually really good because I do really need to do a vlog just reading through my arcs recently because I've got quite a few now and I'm real behind. This is not technically an arc, it's a copy I was sent for review, but it's a finished copy, and it is All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. This is a sequel to All of Us Villains, which is a YA/NA fantasy, kind of in between. There's nothing too extreme in it though, but it is set in this town where the youngest generation of this group of magical families have to fight to the death for the biggest share of the magic going forward. So it's every so many years they put all of their kids into this tournament ground, which is like a section of the town, and they have to fight until there's only one of them left. So there are some kids in here who are thought to be truly monstrous because their family always wins. Like, people think that they're really bloodthirsty, but we kind of get to know these characters and see that they're not, like, none of them are really wanting to participate in this tournament, but most of them feel like they have to. There's also been a book written about this tournament that's kind of exposed everything. So for this round of the tournament, tourists have flocked to the town to kind of see what's going on and see if they can witness this tournament. Meanwhile, inside this tournament, some of the participants are trying to actually break the game apart from the inside. However, they have to convince other participants to trust them to be able to be successful. I really liked the first one a lot more than I thought I was going to. Really hate the UK covers, but really enjoyed the book. So I'm really excited to read this one. I don't think it's too long, 468 pages, so not the shortest, but I am really excited, and thank you so much to Glanks for sending this my way. The release date on this is actually the 1st of September. So this is my TBR so far, plus Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRue, which I'm assuming is going to be around 450 to 500 pages. And you may have noticed that one book that isn't on this stack that really needs to be is Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. I couldn't get it on anywhere. I really tried. This is the final book in the Realm of the Eldlings, guys. It's book 16. Can you believe it? Because I truly cannot. But yeah, this is the final book following Fitz. So this is the last time, are you ready? This is the last time you're gonna hear me say this in a TBR video. So the first, third, and final trilogy in the Realm of the Eldlings are following a man called Fitz. And the first time we see him, he is a young boy of around 6 or 8 years old who has been dropped off on the keep doorstep by his maternal grandfather, who wants him to return to his father. Fitz's father is actually the prince-in-waiting, Prince Chivalry, and when Chivalry finds out that Fitz is on his way to him, he very quickly abdicates the throne and moves to the countryside, leaving Fitz in a very awkward position where nobody quite knows what to do with him. So he's mainly raised by the stable master Burrich up until he comes of an age where the king starts to take an interest in him and trains him to become the royal assassin. Fitz is now 60 in this book, and it's his last book. There are no more books after this. I'm expecting terrible things. Like, I'm expecting to be devastated by this book, and I have to read it pretty early on in the month as well, which is dangerous because it could send me into a massive slump. The live show for this is going to be, I'm assuming it's going to be on the 18th of September, but that is not definite. That is just kind of like the soft date that we're all aiming for, but do of course keep your eyes peeled for when we announce. We normally announce like 1-2 weeks before the live. It's going to be an emotional one, and I'm not ready, and I'm mad that I didn't get this on the TBR because I have to read it, and it is 853 pages. Can you remember when every TBR I did was like this? Quite honestly don't know how I coped or got anything done. You know what? Because we're throwing it back to a Bookopoly TBR, I've done the math on these. I can admit that it's not great, but it's not that bad. So these, oh God, they're so heavy. Oh wait, I forgot to add a book. That's why it's not that bad. Okay, now it's quite bad. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these 7 books plus Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRue add up to 4,380 pages, which is doable for me, but that's like I said, I've been slumping quite a bit this year, and that is an average of 146 pages per day. Before I forgot to add Her Soul for Revenge. Before that, it was about 130 pages a day, which was more doable. Now, I mean, when you put it like that, like an extra 16 pages in a day isn't that much, but like I would struggle to get to 130, which is the issue. So I don't know if we're gonna do it, especially because who am I kidding? Because I said I wanted to read this and then maybe do another TBR. Who do I think I am, quite honestly? So yeah, that is my September and Bookoplathon TBR. Down in the comments, please let me know, as usual, if you've read any of these books and what you guys thought of them. Also, of course, let me know if you have participated in the Bookoplathon and what your TBR is looking like. Did the board do you dirty? Because it was pretty nice to me. The only thing that wasn't great is that I couldn't get Assassin's Fate onto my actual TBR, but aside from that, like, I'd say I did pretty well. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. That's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're go when nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.